Chosen one, this moment is not random, and your presence here is not accidental. Before you pressed play, before the weight of worry began pressing on your thoughts again, heaven had already marked this encounter. This is not content you stumbled upon. This is a divine appointment carefully arranged beyond time, beyond coincidence, and beyond human logic. There are moments when God interrupts the noise of life to realign the heart, and this is one of those moments. Something unseen has been guiding you here because your spirit was ready to hear what your circumstances could not yet explain. You are not listening to this message because you are curious. You are here because you are chosen. Chosen does not mean exempt from struggle, and it does not mean life has been easy. It means your life carries assignment, weight, and purpose that required refining. While others moved quickly, you were shaped deeply. While others seemed to advance effortlessly, you learned endurance, discernment, and resilience. Heaven has been watching you walk through pressure without losing your integrity, through silence without abandoning your faith, and through seasons of uncertainty without surrendering your calling. That is not a coincidence. That is confirmation. There is a shift happening now that goes beyond encouragement. This is a Kairos season, a divinely appointed window where timing and readiness collide. Chronological time may say wait, but heaven's time says now. What once felt delayed is being aligned. What once drained you is being replaced with clarity. The anxiety that kept you in survival mode is losing its authority, not because you suddenly became stronger, but because heaven has decided the season of striving has accomplished its work. You were never meant to live in constant reaction, always bracing for the next demand, the next problem, or the next shortage. In this moment, God is inviting you out of survival and into awakening. Awakening is when you stop asking if you will make it and start recognizing that you are already carried. Awakening is when fear loosens its grip and expectation begins to rise. Something inside you already knows this word is true, even if your mind is still catching up. That inner recognition is your spirit responding to alignment. Let yourself settle here. Let the noise quiet. Let your heart open. This is the beginning of a new posture, a new rhythm, and a new awareness. Heaven is speaking, and it is speaking directly to you. Heaven funds what God authors, and this truth changes the way you understand provision at its core. What God initiates, He sustains. What He designs, He finances. You were never expected to carry a divine assignment with human strength alone. The pressure you felt to make things work, to force doors open, or to survive through sheer effort was never the source of your provision. Heaven does not respond to panic or performance. It responds to alignment. When God authors a path, He also releases the resources necessary for that path to unfold. This is why Scripture declares with certainty, "My God shall supply all your needs according to His riches and glory in Christ Jesus." Philippians 4:19 is not poetic encouragement, it is a spiritual law. Notice that it does not say, according to your labor, your connections, or your ability to manage stress. It says, according to His riches in glory. That means provision is not measured by what is visible in your hands, but by what is already established in heaven. Long before a need appears on earth, its supply has already been accounted for in the spiritual realm. What once looked like delay now reveals itself as divine alignment in progress. Seasons where nothing seemed to move were not wasted time. They were calibration periods. God was aligning your heart, refining your motives, and strengthening your discernment so that when provision arrived, it would not distract you or destroy you. If it had come earlier, It might have owned you instead of serving you. Alignment always precedes acceleration. Heaven is careful, precise, and intentional, especially with chosen ones. This is where the shift happens. Provision flows from calling, not striving. When you strive, you signal mistrust. When you align, you signal readiness. Your assignment creates demand, and heaven answers demand with supply. The moment you stop trying to earn what was already authorized is the moment peace returns. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not failing. You are being funded by a system that does not collapse, fluctuate, or run out. Let this truth settle into you. You do not need to beg, compete, or exhaust yourself to be sustained. Your role is obedience, alignment, and trust. Heaven handles the funding. As you walk forward in what God has authored, provision will meet you step by step, not as a reward for striving, but as confirmation that you are exactly where you were always meant to be. The end of survival mode begins the moment truth replaces fear. Survival was never your destination. It was a temporary posture you adopted to endure a season that demanded resilience. Now that season is closing. The mindset that trained you to expect lack, brace for disappointment, and prepare for loss is being dismantled at its foundation. You are no longer meant to live with your nervous system constantly on alert, calculating how to stretch what is barely enough. Heaven is calling you out of reaction and into rest, not because life has suddenly become easy, but because support has shifted from internal strain to divine sponsorship. As this transition unfolds, God is being revealed to you in a deeper dimension, not only as comfort in hardship, but as source in every area of life. Comfort meets you in pain, but source sustains you beyond it. Source means you are no longer dependent on unstable systems, fluctuating approval, or exhausting effort. When God becomes your source, provision stops being something you chase and becomes something that follows. The pressure to figure it all out begins to lift because you realize you were never meant to be the origin of what sustains you. This revelation is powerful because it breaks cycles of lack at the root, not just at the surface. Lack is not only an external condition, it is a learned pattern, reinforced by disappointment and fear. When God addresses lack, He does not merely add more resources. He rewires expectation. Old loops of scarcity, where gain was always followed by loss, are being interrupted. Patterns that repeated through seasons and even through generations lose their authority when divine sponsorship takes over. You are not just experiencing temporary relief. You are stepping into permanent change. With this shift comes a new rhythm of supernatural support. Life no longer moves in frantic bursts followed by exhaustion. Instead, there is a steady flow, timely provision, unexpected help, and doors opening without force. Support arrives before the crisis, not after. Solutions surface before anxiety has time to build. This is the rhythm of heaven, where grace carries what effort once strained to hold. Let yourself adjust to this new pace. It may feel unfamiliar at first, because peace can feel strange to those who lived long in survival. But this is your confirmation you are no longer sustained by fear, but by alignment. Survival mode is ending because sponsorship has begun, and heaven is now actively backing the life you are walking into. What you once interpreted as delay now reveals itself as preparation, not denial. And this understanding changes how you view every season you endured. Heaven never withholds out of cruelty or forgetfulness. Heaven withholds out of wisdom. God never releases what the soul cannot yet carry without breaking. timing is not about God being slow. It is about you being strengthened. Every pause, every closed door, and every extended waiting season was not a sign of rejection, but evidence of divine care, shaping you for what was coming. Internal readiness always precedes external release. Before blessings appear in your hands, they must be sustained in your spirit. Waiting seasons were not empty spaces. They were training grounds. In silence, your discernment sharpened. In uncertainty, your dependence shifted from outcomes to truth. You learned how to stand without constant affirmation and how to trust without visible evidence. These seasons built capacity to steward, to lead, to remain grounded when pressure increases. What feels heavy to an unprepared soul becomes manageable to one that has been strengthened. This is why pressure was preparation, not punishment. Pressure revealed what was inside you and refined what could not remain. It taught you restraint, wisdom, and patience. It exposed areas that still needed healing and alignment. God did not allow pressure to crush you. He allowed it to form you. You emerged with deeper humility, stronger boundaries, and clearer vision. These qualities are not optional for what lies ahead. They are essential. Without them, promotion would have become a burden instead of a blessing. Now, a divine declaration of readiness is being released. Heaven recognizes that what once would have overwhelmed you can now be carried with maturity and grace. You are no longer asking for things to come just to relieve discomfort. You are prepared to receive them to fulfill purpose. This shift is subtle but powerful. It marks the transition from preparation to release, from forming to building, from waiting to walking. Let this truth settle into your spirit. Nothing was wasted. Every delay served you. Every unanswered prayer refined you. And now, because your soul has grown strong enough to sustain what is next, heaven is responding. Readiness has been recognized. Alignment has been confirmed. The door that opens next will not open to test you, but to trust you with what you have been prepared to carry. Before provision arrives, identity shifts, because who you become determines what you are able to receive and sustain. Heaven does not respond merely to need. It responds to alignment with identity. This is why chosen ones are always shaped internally before they are supported externally. Survival thinking may have helped you endure past seasons, but it cannot build what the next season requires. A transition is taking place now, from surviving to building, from reacting to creating, from bracing for loss to preparing for expansion. As this shift unfolds, mindset, language, and self-perception are being quietly but powerfully upgraded. You may notice that the way you speak is changing. Words rooted in fear and limitation are losing their grip, replaced by clarity, intention, and discernment. The internal dialogue that once questioned worth and timing is being interrupted by a deeper knowing. This is not arrogance, it is alignment. Heaven rewires the inner narrative before it releases outer responsibility, because the way you think determines how you steward what you receive. Inner transformation always happens before outer manifestation. The unseen work is the most critical phase, even though it is the least celebrated. While nothing appeared to change on the outside, your capacity was expanding within. You were learning to hold vision without rushing it, to stay grounded without shrinking, and to trust without demanding proof. These inner shifts are the foundation for visible outcomes. Without them, provision would arrive prematurely and create pressure instead of progress. When identity rises, resources respond naturally. Provision is attracted to clarity, stability, and purpose. Heaven does not flood uncertain foundations. It strengthens them first. As you step more fully into who you are called to be, opportunities begin to align without force. Support shows up in ways that feel intentional rather than chaotic. This is not coincidence, it is resonance. What you carry internally signals to the spiritual realm what you are ready to manage externally. Take a moment to recognize this growth within you. You are not the same person who once prayed from fear or desperation. You now stand with greater discernment, patience, and authority. This evolution is evidence that provision is not far behind. It is already responding. Identity has been upgraded. Vision has been clarified, and capacity has been expanded. As you continue to walk in alignment, resources will meet you where you are not as a surprise, but as confirmation that you have become ready for what heaven has prepared. Healing. The scarcity mindset is one of the most profound shifts a chosen one can experience, because it marks the transition from fear-based living into trust-rooted alignment. Scarcity is not simply the absence of resources, it is the constant expectation of loss. It trains the mind to anticipate not enough, even in moments of provision. Now that pattern is being addressed at its core. The fear that once whispered, "What if it runs out?" is losing its authority. You are being released from the internal pressure to hoard, rush, or cling, because heaven is teaching you a new way to see supply. As this fear dissolves, recognition of heaven's patterns of provision begins to emerge. You start noticing that God does not provide randomly or carelessly. There is order in how doors open, precision in timing, and intention behind every resource that arrives. What once felt unpredictable now reveals a rhythm. Needs are met in sequence, not in chaos. Provision shows up aligned with purpose, not anxiety. This awareness builds trust because you realize you are not surviving on chance, you are being sustained by design. With this clarity, blessings become synchronized rather than scattered. Instead of isolated moments of relief, followed by long stretches of strain, support begins to arrive in connected ways. Opportunities align with preparation. Resources align with responsibility. People, ideas, and timing begin to converge instead of colliding. This synchronization is not accidental. It is the fruit of alignment replacing fear. When the mind is no longer ruled by scarcity, the flow of provision stabilizes. Peace then becomes the new foundation, not as a fragile emotion, but as a governing state. Peace allows you to discern without panic and to decide without pressure. It anchors you when circumstances fluctuate and keeps you steady when increase begins. This peace is evidence that the scarcity mindset has been healed at a deeper level. You are no longer measuring life by what might be lost, but by what is being built. Let this peace settle into your decisions, your planning, and your expectations. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not running out of time or opportunity. Heaven's supply does not expire, and its provision does not depend on fear. As scarcity loosens its grip, trust takes its place. And in that space, peace becomes your anchor, guiding you into a life sustained not by worry, but by alignment with a faithful and intentional source. Divine alignment brings clarity because confusion cannot survive where truth is established. When your life begins to align with heaven's order, the mental fog that once clouded your decisions starts to lift. Alignment restores direction, not by overwhelming you with answers, but by reconnecting you to purpose. What once felt scattered begins to organize itself around a central knowing. You no longer wake up questioning every step, because direction is no longer something you search for. It is something you recognize. As spiritual alignment deepens, an inner compass begins to guide your decisions with quiet authority. This compass does not shout or rush you. It steadies you. You sense when to move and when to wait. You feel clarity before evidence appears. This is not impulsive confidence. It is discernment cultivated through alignment. Decisions that once took weeks of overthinking now come with a sense of calm assurance. You are learning to trust what resonates with truth instead of what merely reduces anxiety. In this space, knowing replaces overanalyzing. Overanalyzing is often a symptom of fear, rooted in the belief that one wrong step could cost everything. Alignment removes that pressure. When you are walking in step with heaven, correction is gentle, not catastrophic. You begin to understand that God directs paths, not just destinations. This frees you from the paralysis of perfectionism. You no longer need to map every outcome. You only need to remain responsive. Clarity becomes relational rather than analytical. As this relationship strengthens, heaven begins directing each step with precision. Opportunities present themselves at the right moment. Conversations happen at the exact time they are needed. Doors open, not because you forced them, but because you arrived in alignment. Even delays now carry instruction instead of frustration. Nothing feels wasted because everything serves movement toward purpose. Precision does not mean rigidity. It means intentional flow, guided by wisdom. Notice how your thoughts are quieter than before. Notice how decisions feel lighter, not heavier. This is evidence of alignment at work. Confusion fades not because life becomes simple, but because you are anchored. You are no longer pulled in every direction by fear or expectation. You are led. And when you are led, clarity follows naturally. Trust this process. You are not drifting, you are being guided. Each step is ordered, each pause is purposeful, and each decision is supported. Divine alignment has restored your sense of direction. And as you continue to walk in it, clarity will remain not as something you chase, but as something that walks with you. Separation, boundaries, and refinement are not signs of loss. They are signs of elevation. Letting go is often the doorway to rising higher, even when it feels uncomfortable at first. As you move deeper into alignment, old environments, habits, and relationships begin to fall away. Not because they were all bad, but because they are no longer compatible with who you are becoming. What once felt familiar may now feel heavy or draining. This is not confusion. It is discernment awakening. Separation is protection, not rejection. And this truth is critical for chosen ones to understand. God does not remove people, places, or patterns to punish you. He removes them to preserve you. Some connections could not go with you into the next season without compromising your clarity, peace, or purpose. Others were tied to versions of you that no longer exist. Letting them go is not abandonment. It is alignment. Protection often looks like distance before it looks like peace. As this separation unfolds, healthy spiritual boundaries begin to form naturally. Boundaries are not walls built from fear. They are frameworks built from wisdom. You learn when to engage and when to withdraw, when to give and when to conserve. Your energy becomes intentional. Your time becomes guarded. You no longer feel obligated to explain your growth to those who cannot perceive it. These boundaries do not isolate you. They stabilize you. They create space for discernment to function without interference. Through this refinement, space is intentionally created for the next season. God does not pour new wine into old containers. Space is required for expansion, clarity, and increase. What feels empty now is not absence, it is preparation. In the quiet, new ideas form. In the space, new alignments approach. In the distance from old noise, you begin to hear heaven more clearly. This space is sacred even if it feels unfamiliar. Do not rush to fill what God has intentionally cleared. Trust the process. Refinement always precedes expansion. What you release now creates room for what you could not have carried before. You are not losing momentum. You are being positioned. As separation completes, its work piece will confirm it. You are rising, not by holding on, but by letting go. And in that release, you are being prepared for what the next season requires. Peace, surrender, and supernatural flow emerge together when rest replaces resistance. Rest is not passivity. It is trust expressed through stillness. When you release control, heaven takes the lead, and what once required constant effort begins to move with ease. Control kept you alert, but exhausted. Surrender makes you attentive, but anchored. This is the shift where striving ends and cooperation with divine order begins. As control loosens its grip, something remarkable happens. Provision begins arriving before the request. Needs are met before they fully form into worries. Answers surface before questions turn into anxiety. This is not coincidence. It is anticipation. Heaven responds not to panic, but to alignment. When you are surrendered, your life is positioned to receive support at the right moment, without desperation or delay. You begin to notice that what you need shows up quietly often in ways you did not script. In this surrendered state, ideas, solutions, and opportunities align naturally. Creativity flows without force. Insights come in moments of calm rather than pressure. Conversations open doors without manipulation. You are no longer pushing life forward. You are walking with it. This flow is intelligent and intentional. It conserves your energy while increasing your impact. You begin to understand that inspiration thrives in peace, not in strain. As this rhythm establishes itself, grace replaces exhaustion. Grace is the divine ability to accomplish what effort could not sustain. Tasks that once drained you now feel lighter. Progress continues even when you pause. This does not mean responsibility disappears. It means support multiplies. Grace carries what effort once struggled to hold. You are no longer burning yourself out to prove faithfulness. Faithfulness now expresses itself through trust. Let yourself remain in this posture. Peace is not a temporary relief. It is a new operating system. Surrender is not giving up. It is handing over what was never meant to rest on your shoulders. Supernatural flow does not rush. It arrives steadily, guided by wisdom rather than urgency. As you rest, provision continues. As you trust, doors open. As you release, heaven responds. This is your confirmation. Exhaustion is no longer required to move forward. Grace has taken its place. And in this flow, you are carried not by effort, but by alignment with a God who leads, provides, and sustains without strain. Mantle stewardship and responsibility emerge together when blessing deepens into trust. You are not only being blessed, you are being entrusted. There is a difference. Blessing can be received, but trust must be carried. What God is placing in your hands now carries weight, purpose, and impact beyond personal comfort. This is why the process felt intense at times, because heaven was not just preparing you to receive, but to steward with wisdom and integrity. God always prepares the vessel before the overflow. Overflow without preparation creates damage rather than increase. This is why your inner life was refined before your outer life shifted. Character was strengthened before capacity expanded. You learned restraint before release, humility before influence, and discernment before visibility. These were not optional lessons. They were protective measures. Heaven safeguards its gifts by shaping the one who carries them. As this preparation takes hold, maturity becomes the shield that protects the blessing. Maturity knows when to speak and when to stay silent. It recognizes timing over impulse. It values sustainability over speed. Without maturity, influence becomes fragile and blessing becomes unstable. But with maturity, growth compounds instead of collapses. You are now able to hold more without losing yourself in it. This stability is not accidental. It is earned through alignment and surrender. With blessing comes influence, and with influence comes responsibility. These two always rise together. Influence is not merely visibility, it is impact. People are affected by how you move, speak, and decide. Your obedience creates pathways for others. Your integrity sets standards. This is why heaven is careful with timing. Responsibility increases as influence grows, ensuring that what you carry serves more than just you. Take a moment to honor the growth that has brought you here. You did not arrive by chance. You were shaped to hold this mantle. Stewardship is now your language, and responsibility is no longer a burden. It is an expression of trust. Heaven believes you are ready to manage what is being released. Walk forward with this awareness. What you carry now matters. How you steward, it will determine how it multiplies. And as you remain grounded in humility and alignment, the weight you carry will not overwhelm you. It will confirm that you have been found faithful with what heaven has entrusted to your care. The transition from striving to heavenly sponsorship marks one of the most profound shifts in a chosen one's journey. Striving was the season where faith was proven under pressure, where obedience was practiced without visible support. Now that season is giving way to something higher. Heaven is no longer simply observing your faith. It is actively funding your obedience. What you step into now is not self-sustained momentum, but divinely backed movement. This shift changes how progress feels. Effort begins to decrease, while impact increases. You may notice that you are doing less forcing and seeing more results. Doors open with fewer explanations. Resistance fades where it once dominated. This is not because you have become passive, but because partnership has replaced pressure. When heaven sponsors the journey, outcomes no longer depend solely on your capacity. They are reinforced by divine alignment working behind the scenes. As this partnership stabilizes, provision becomes consistent rather than occasional. You are no longer surviving on sporadic breakthroughs, followed by long gaps of uncertainty. Support arrives steadily timed to responsibility and purpose. This consistency builds confidence, not arrogance. Confidence rooted in trust rather than control. You begin to plan with clarity instead of fear, because you are no longer guessing whether support will show up. It already has. The most significant realization in this season is this: you are no longer building alone. What once felt like solitary effort is now shared weight. Heaven stands behind what you are constructing. Every step forward is reinforced. Every risk taken in obedience is met with backing. This does not remove challenges, but it changes their outcome. You are supported through them, not left to navigate them in isolation. Take a moment to reflect on how far you have come. Striving taught you discipline and resilience. Sponsorship now teaches you trust and cooperation. Both were necessary, but they are not the same. You are entering a season where faith expresses itself through alignment rather than exhaustion. Let this truth ground you. You do not need to push harder to move forward. You need to stay aligned. Heaven is already invested in the path you are walking. As you continue to move in obedience, sponsorship will remain active. Provision will stay consistent. Impact will expand. And you will build not as one struggling to survive, but as a chosen one, supported, sustained, and backed by heaven itself. This conclusion stands as confirmation that you are standing in a Kairos moment, a divinely appointed season where timing, readiness, and purpose converge. This is not a motivational idea meant to inspire you temporarily. It is a spiritual reality meant to activate you permanently. Kairos moments do not announce themselves loudly, but they are recognized deeply. If something within you has been settling rather than striving, clarifying rather than rushing, that is your confirmation. Heaven has marked this season, and you have arrived in it on time. In this Kairos window, a supernatural transfer is already in motion. What was once held in reserve is being released with intention. This is not a sudden miracle, disconnected from process. It is the visible continuation of everything that has already been formed within you. Authority, clarity, provision, and opportunity are shifting into alignment because readiness has been recognized. Heaven does not delay what is prepared. What is moving now does not require force. It requires agreement. Peace becomes the evidence of divine order in this season. Not the absence of responsibility, but the absence of panic. Not the lack of movement, but the presence of stability. Peace confirms that you are no longer fighting for position. You are standing in it, where anxiety once dominated assurance now leads. This peace is not passive. It is active confirmation that heaven is governing what unfolds next. This is your call to agreement. Agreement is not passive belief. It is alignment in thought, expectation, and action. Allow your words to match what heaven is doing. Allow your decisions to reflect trust rather than fear. Share this message not as content, but as confirmation for others who are standing at the same threshold. Alignment strengthens when it is acknowledged and reinforced. Remain consistent. Stay attentive. Keep walking in what has been revealed. You do not need to rush this season, nor do you need to doubt it. Heaven is precise, and what is unfolding is intentional. Let this final declaration anchor you. God is funding what He authored in your life. What He began, He will sustain. What He released, He will support. You are not stepping forward alone. You are moving with backing, with provision, and with divine intention. This season is active. This moment is appointed. And what unfolds next will confirm that heaven has already gone ahead of you.